up and then prepare to say to everybody, "Hi, I'm Ott," and then the game is underway. But it's vVv Gaming on the blue side going up against a revamped ggLA roster for at least the time being on the red side of this one. And more importantly, it's Otter and ImPobelter on the red side going up against, well, probably my duo of favorite names in the North American League of Legends scene in CheesdBeluga and PorpoisePops on vVv's side.
Oh man. I love everything about this game. Everything, like Otter and Bunny FuFuu as a lane, like Godshu and Tails doesn't mean as much, but like the fact that there's a guy in this game named PorpoisePops. This will be fun. They're playing a very kind of an oddball composition. It's very, very different, and I'm looking forward to seeing this face of vVv. This could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and actually we see vVv all grouped up together there, a force of 5 to be reckoned with. The line of scrimmage has been set by ggLA, but Otter's not going to want to try to go for the quarterback in this one, as vVv charge headfirst into the blue buff area. Boomerang Blade connects, deals a little bit of damage, and almost reactively both wards go out from either side. A little bit of harass, mainly vision gain here by the side of vVv.
Yeah, and they will be able to get that ward down to the blue buff area. We'll see if ggLA try to go for some sort of counter ward area on the opposing blue buff so they can kind of similarly keep track of the other jungler. Because right now, they don't have any deep wards in the area. They will not be able to keep track of Nautilius. And while Nautilus's early clear is relatively slow, his ganks are devastating enough with as much early CC as he gets that you do need to keep track of him. Because if he suddenly shows up behind you, that's a summoner that I hope you didn't like too much because it's gone. And you're not getting it back for the next probably 5 minutes.
Yeah, and even in a certain circumstance, if Nautilus has the proper angle of attack, a burn summoner might not keep you out of death's row right there, because he's basically a crowd control bot and then some. Being extremely tanky and comboed with a Renekton pickup here, that could be a very powerful duo of not only tanks with a decent amount of damage being put down, and so many ways to utilize the Orianna command shockwave if they so get into the team fighting phase, and that's what they choose to do. But like we said in the champion select side, the side of ggLA has a lot of tools to be adaptive, whether it be disengage, whether it be sieging down on towers, or causing people to be out of position and picking up kills to be effective that way. One of the Achilles heels we saw for vVv's competition against Cognitive was when they wanted to go with that Orianna command shockwave, it was always just a second or two too late or too early with the paranoia from Nocturne, and it wound up actually not really grabbing all that many people.
Yeah, that's the way that the shockwave works is that when you cast it, the shockwave is cast where the ball is in that moment. Like, if the ball is command protected, like, okay, you can't cast it while you're command attacking. Like, you can't use it mid-command attack, although that would be pretty sweet. Like drive-by command shockwave against the ball just, like, cruises through. But if it's on a target, like a Nocturne, and the Nocturne's ulting in the middle of the team, and you pop it a little bit early, it doesn't wait until Nocturne gets there. It's wherever the ball is at that moment. And because of that, they had so many premature shockwaves that just ended up catching nothing as Nocturne was like mid-air on his way towards his target.
Oh man, those premature shockwaves, they're pretty sure they said it's never happened before. It's the first time it ever wound up happening to them. But we'll see if they wind up having the synergy down a little bit more this time around, as both junglers going to be starting at their respective blue buffs, although it is going to be the side of vVv that knows where Jarvan is going to be a little bit earlier on in this lane. Standard lane matches right here. The duo lanes are in the bottom, solo laners in the top and mid lane, and I'm really interested about this Renekton versus Kha'Zix matchup because I kind of use Kha'Zix has so much all-in potential at levels 2 and 3, but Renekton is not an easy character to kill even early on in the game.
No, Renekton has so much early bully potential and the early sustain as well. Kha'Zix is a champion that people have been picking up of late against champions that need time to scale up. But given the fact that Renekton is basically ready to go right out of the gate, this is going to be interesting to see exactly how he plays this one out.
Well, both of these guys have hit level 2. Pretty much same levelization all across the map for each team right now, and pretty much just a safe standard start. The junglers have gone for their own buffs, and now that's about the 3-minute and about 10-second mark is normally when you're going to see junglers first show up to lanes, but it's going to be a little bit delayed actually. Sickoscott winds up going through the jungle and actually thinks about recalling, whereas Nautilus stops off to grab some of those smaller camps, because like you said, Malfus, Nautilus in the early game doesn't clear as fast as possible, but with that blue buff available, he's going to want to try to kill as many things as possible. Whereas Sickoscott, he set his eyes on champions to kill, gets Snugglez, actually uses the flash extremely early. The slice winds up hitting nothing, so there's no dice available. Flash forward from ImPobelter with the Ignite taking down stun and tower range though. Flash forward from Sickoscott secures the first blood, and ImPobelter drops dangerously low, but he barely lizzled a sliver of health.
They just barely get him out of that one. They have to watch out for PorpoisePops, so Nautilus is trying to trundle his way back up here. This is so slow. He just kind of ambles into the brush. He's hoping that IMPobelter and Sickoscott will get too greedy and go for the next one. He's gonna get the hook down.
Oh, PorpoisePops hooks on Sickoscott, but there's two members here for the side of ggLA, and they force yet another flash away from the side of vVv. PorpoisePops, in the meantime, the Gragas versus Orianna matchup actually takes a brunt of pain here as he charges down into CheesdBeluga, but actually turns it around as soon as the body slam's available. Flash has been burned once again for the side of vVv, so 3 flashes down at the 4-minute mark right here, and ggLA are looking like they're the ones burning summoners and not that jungle Nautilius.
Absolutely, this is pretty terrifying right now. I mean, they have so many open gank opportunities right now across the lanes for Sickoscott. Like, Orianna versus Gragas is a lane matchup that you win up until you lose it, right? Because you use that range auto attack harass, and ImPobelter getting ganked by PorpoisePops.
Yeah, he actually body slams into Nautilius. There's the Dreads line, has to force a flash away. It's one of the first ones from the side of ggLA. I keep wanting to say Infinite Odds because this is oddly similar to an old Infinite Odds roster with PorpoisePops, Otter, Sickoscott, even an ImPobelter. Buddy FuFuu's pretty much the only replacement here in that kind of lineup, so if I wind up stuttering my words a little bit, it's kind of why, guys. Sorry about that one, but flashes have been burned in a multitude of ganks, but there haven't really been any kills thus far. The junglers just kind of trekking through their own respective areas and getting some farm up, but PorpoisePops might be the first one to turn something around up here. Snuggle actually goes down to ImPobelter because PorpoisePops just waddled a little bit too slow into that top lane, whereas in the bottom side of the map here, Buddy FuFuu winds up getting stunned up as aggression turns onto Tails. It's already been 1-for-1 across the map here. Otter isn't going to make it 2-for-2 though. It takes a boomerang blade to the face, has to bop away for the time being. The polymorph goes down from that whimsy, ignites go down, Tails getting dropped down extremely low as is Bunny FuFuu flash away, but Bunny FuFuu dies and Tails stays alive. Otter trying to throw out the flame choppers, forces the flash away from Godshu. Flashes forward, does pick up a kill with that switcheroo into the rocket form, and it's a 1-for-1 trade again, 2-for-2 all over the map.
And then that Jinx passive getting Otter back out of that one as well. He gets excited, runs away from the tower, only takes up the 1 tower shot. Very, very brave play coming out there from Otter. But yet, more flashes burn. I'm taking a look, and yep, all 10 flashes are down right now. Ain't nobody got a flash left on this map right now. Nope.
So all the flashes are down, which means these ganks that have already been pretty deadly, as we have 5 kills at the 6-minute mark on this map here, Malfus, could potentially be even more lethal. More importantly, this matchup between Renekton and Kha'Zix is going in Kha'Zix's favor. He has a slight experience advantage, currently level 5 compared to the 4 of Renekton, and on top of that, he has a lot of, not a lot of farm over Renekton. Renekton has a farm. Otter, getting caught a little bit right here, is going to want to give the kill over to PorpoisePops, and unfortunately Otter was kind of swimming in a stream that he shouldn't have been there right there. ImPobelter and Snugglez continuing to trade damage back and forth amongst each other. Both of them drop down extremely low and having to pop those health potions as it continues to be a bloodbath across Summoner's Rift in this game.
That was, yeah, I mean, it was nicely played by Otter at the end of that one, as PorpoisePops now going to try to go in on the CheesdBeluga. Look at the burst, but here's the ult!
Ooh, the ultimate goes off there from Nautilius as well as CheesdBeluga with the command Shockwave. That time the synergy was on point, and CheesdBeluga picks up a kill for himself. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Snugglez has to get the heck out of there as Sickoscott comes around from the backside as he and ImPobelter apply a lot of pressure onto that top lane. But at the same exact time, vVv is going to respond. Your jungler's away in top lane. Dragon is free for us.
Absolutely, and they do need to take this one down as quickly as they can. Tail's going to show up in the area as well. It doesn't look like there's going to be anyone around to try to contest this one. As another
the pause button.
Yeah,
pause button. It's the direct counter to contesting a dragon right here. And Otter, he's still in level 5. He doesn't have that Super Mega Death Rocket available quite yet. But he is going to be able to potentially just get a little bit of harassment down. He's got to be extremely careful. Sickoscott is coming in from the mid lane, but is it going to be in enough time? I actually can't scroll and see how much health is left on the dragon, which I wish I could right now to see if maybe he'll get there in time to maybe smite steal or not. And he actually does have level 6, and is the Cataclysm learned? He does have Cataclysm available, so this could potentially be a fight, but it's still a 4 against 3 in favor of vVv if they go in.
All right, so we actually have a pause. That's going to give us kind of potentially a moment in time here. Actually, let me get my chat up here so I can see if people are saying what's going on here. Okay, apparently Scott is going to have to restart his router, is what we're being told. All right, so let's take a moment. Let's go back in time here. Tails with a little bit of a misplay there, recalling under the tower, allowing Otter to flash and get that kill. PorpoisePops coming back down here with those mobility boots as he goes 2-0-1 thus far on his Nautilus, so making that early game presence felt. Nautilus definitely a champion that can be very lackluster if he falls behind. Let's put it that way. But in this situation where he's got decent farm, he's had a lot of good kill involvement. That's not necessarily going to be the case right now. So very, very strong for him there. He was very hesitant to pull the trigger on that gank up in the top lane against IKNEU. And because of that, Snugglez ended up going down. But we mentioned in the early parts of the game that we were concerned about whether Kha'Zix would be able to bully around a champion that's as strong in the laning phase as Renekton. And we saw an opportunity where IKNEU just said, okay, well, I know I'm about to die in the 2v1. I'm going to unload all my damage. I'm going to see what happens. And what happened is he ended up with a nice fresh pair of Crocs kid boots.
Yeah, and in those trade situations, Kha'Zix is able to dish out the amount of DPS he needs to kill Renekton, but not after the two of them just pretty much brawl it out in top lane. We've seen Renekton be able to put a lot of damage on Kha'Zix, but once he actually pulls that trigger, Kha'Zix wound up coming out ahead. Now we have a level 6 compared to a level 5. Kha'Zix may start to pull further and further ahead, especially if he evolves his enlarged claws and starts getting a lot of extra isolation damage down onto that Renekton pickup. Now I do want to really go back and touch upon this Nautilus pick, because like you said, it's a very uncommon thing to see in the NACL or in NA in general, but it's something that we haven't necessarily seen fade away from the EU Challenger scene quite yet. One of the relegated teams, MYM, who some of you guys might remember, Makata, their jungler, has been playing Nautilus all throughout, well, this summer split, and even into the IM Cologne qualifiers. And when he gets ahead early on, Nautilus is almost unstoppable. He is a crowd control bot that doesn't die. But like you said, when he gets behind, he's a crowd control bot. That's all he does. He slows and he hooks people.
Yeah, and we see coming in here to take down this dragon, they try to use as many command protects as they could to keep his W up for as long as possible, because that is actually really, it does a decent amount of damage. That Titan's Wrath, if the shield doesn't pop, it can allow him to kind of burn the dragon up pretty quickly. But it's very tough. You either have to have somebody else like standing there in front of him taking it up, or like, I mean, Orianna's shield clearly isn't enough at this point in the game. We saw CheesdBeluga kind of trying. But let's see, what other things have we not really discussed as much? Mid lane, we saw the kill on ImPobelter. Oh, I made a comment about mid lane being a lane for Orianna against Gragas where you win until you lose. And I wanted to explain that because I know that sounds kind of strange. Basically, like, you have the ranged versus melee advantage going on. As long as you're able to avoid the pokes coming out from the barrels, you kind of dominate the lane. But then whenever that one barrel hits and a Gragas finds an opportunity, he can either body slam into you or body slam flash into you, and you can't get away from it. And he pops the ignite, and then you just get completely chunked down. And if you took a couple of barrels earlier, like if he poked you down, if you're not at full health when he does that, you basically either die or get chased out of the lane and lose a summoner spell. So, yeah, like, it's a very, very difficult situation, and CheesdBeluga had to be very careful about how he played it early on. But thus far, he's the guy. I mean, they're about even in farm, so Pobelter's been doing a good job getting his farm. But that one kill over to CheesdBeluga has shown how much presence PorpoisePops has had in the early game.
Another thing that really makes a Gragas shine against an Orianna is going to be the jungle pressure. And with Sickoscott so focused on that top lane area, he hasn't necessarily applied pressure into the mid lane since he burned that flash early on against CheesdBeluga. But you said the barrels going into Orianna's face versus the shove that the ball is going to be applying whenever Orianna uses the command attack and distance to try to harass Gragas, being a melee range character, is going to go through the enemy minions too. So Orianna will naturally push a lane against Gragas, where he's content to sit there, wind up using his W to chug up, get his drunken rage going, and get that extra physical damage. So he's last hitting effectively in melee range. But like you said, as soon as one or two of those barrels connect, and if a jungler shows up because you're shoved up in that lane, Orianna, if you don't have a flash, you're gonna have a bad time in that kind of situation.
Yeah, that's gonna be kind of terrifying. So we look at the 280 carries right now, because Otter was able to pick up that kill and get away. Despite the fact that he's lagging a little bit behind in CS, he does have a BF sword. Also, I mentioned that Otter played his death nicely, which, again, I know that sounds like a weird statement. Obviously, ideally, he would not have died. But once he realized that he was in a situation where he was going down, he was able to stay in the tower so that the tower did enough damage to kill him very quickly, while only allowing PorpoisePops to be the guy that got damage down. So there were no assists given over. So it was only 300 gold going, and it only went over to PorpoisePops rather than 300 gold to someone else, and then 150 gold for the assist to someone else. But Sickoscott has gotten all of his stuff back up to snuff, and the game has resumed.
And after all that speculation, Dragon goes over to vV without too much of a fight. We do have a Whimsy going down in the PorpoisePops, and actually the Flame Chompers grab Godshu. Sickoscott is right here. There's the Dazzle coming out. The On the Hunt is popped for some disengage capabilities here from vVv. And after a long drawn-out talk about if Sickoscott was going to get there in time, well, he doesn't, and it's a Dragon for vVv.
Very, very nicely played those to grab that up for themselves. It's a 1,000 gold advantage thus far at the 8-minute mark. That's a relatively early dragon play, but they knew that they had the opportunity. As we mentioned before, they saw jungle pressure up in the top lane. They knew that they had time to get there and burn it down before Sickoscott can make that run across the map. Even with the boots of mobility and even being Jarvan, he wasn't able to get there in time. So very, very nice play there from vVv.
Well, now we'll have to see where they transition from this one, because they've gotten that objective on the map in Dragon, but they don't necessarily have the same kind of tower pressure capabilities that they did the last time they ran this competition, when they had a Nocturne as the jungler, and they had a little bit of a different kind of pushing top laner in Lissandra. And now that that top laner is slightly behind in his 1v1 matchup, as iKennyU and Get Snuggle pop up on our screen once again in this top lane matchup, where does vVv go with this one? Because they've taken the dragon, and those towers on the bottom and mid side might not be the easiest to take away from a Jinx Lulu combination that we saw already be able to catch people out of position and punish them for it, and a Gragas who can just shove those waves and clear. It's up to them to try to move around the map, and they might actually decide that it's time to go for picks. Like we said, a lot of crowd control coming out of their top laner and their jungler, and the capabilities of that Sivir and the roaming Taric that we've seen out of them before could be a potential right here. But right now, it's just a little bit of a lull between these two teams, as they decided farming is a good way to kind of get your score up.
And PorpoisePops is I'm really impressed. It's not easy to outfarm an Orianna on pretty much any champion. He's been having a really good time of it with this Gragas.
He's actually got 67 CS compared to the 58 currently for the side of CheesdBeluga, maintaining about a 10 CS advantage in that one lane matchup. Although Orianna has gone back one extra time to pick up a Chalice of Harmony and boots on top of the double Doran's rings that both of the characters currently have, whereas Gragas only has that Null Magic Mantle portion of his own Chalice of Harmony. Bottom lane, we can see the farm going slightly in favor of vVv Gaming side, as Otter and Bunny FuFuu are just being a little bit afraid backing up towards their tower, but it could be a bait as you see Sickoscott down towards the bottom portion of the map. Now these trades in the top lane going more and more in favor of iKennyU, as you see Renekton getting shoved back under his tower, and the CS advantage has definitely dipped in favor of Kha'Zix. It's 54 compared to 40. Now Jarvan gets a flag and drag over the wall, just decides to cataclysm straight on top of Tails. Flame Choppers go down, but on the hunt gets popped as in comes PorpoisePops. Out goes the ultimate coming out, knocks up Jarvan, but he flashes away from that one. Sickoscott with a low health bar is going to survive for the time being, but right now there's 3 members strong from vVv against 3 not so strong and healthy members from the side of ggLA in the bottom lane.
And that's going to allow them the opportunity to continue applying pressure to the tower and try to deny some farm here. But yeah, I mean, the lane that I'm kind of focused on right now is definitely this top lane. We expressed our concern about iKennyU's ability to dominate through the early game. He got ganked pretty hard. There was a lot of pressure going down there, and you know, we see he's still having a really good time of it. W giving him just enough sustain. He evolved the Q first. ImPobelter now in a lot of trouble here as he uses the barrel, but no, nice flash!
Ooh, it flashes away from the command shockwave actually right there. Now Sickoscott comes in here trying to turn something around on the CheesdBeluga. He drops down extremely low, as does Sickoscott. PorpoisePops just utilizing his ability to crowd control and slow them out with that Riptide to get them out of there. Bottom lane, Godshu actually goes down to Otter as action all across the map comes out. The switcheroo goes down and back over to the top area of the map where iKennyU has joined the fray with Get Snuggled. Low health bars on the side of ggLA. A flash away from iKennyU means that vVv win the fight in the top side of the jungle, but they lose their support in the bottom, which is actually a 1-0 for ggLA.
Man, it's like everyone, because everyone's using their flashes all at the same time, they all come back up at the same time, and then everyone's willing to burn them again right away, hoping that they had the opportunity and hoping that they had the advantage to get something down on there. I mean, the flash that I commented on was PorpoisePops flashing in front of PorpoisePops so he couldn't escape with the body slam, trying to set up that command shockwave from CheesdBeluga. Because he burned his flash, he was able to force PorpoisePops to use his flash, so they basically end up trading mobility between those two champions. Then Sickoscott shows up, and he's able to force CheesdBeluga back out. Tails, that spell shield on the zap is actually going to save his life, as it keeps him, or save his flash, I should say, as it keeps him from getting slowed down enough for those flame choppers to actually land.
Yeah, and like we talked about, just the amount of utility that Jinx can put out in a certain lane match, or even for just a team, lets her catch people out like that and would have been able to just chain the CC and capitalize. Don't forget, there's also a Whimsy coming out from Lulu, so even if the flash was available for Tails, he might have still been a dead man in that situation. Speaking of dead man, Get Snugglez and iKennyU traded back and forth, and Kenny just blows up Renekton at low HP, whereas now we have the ultimate coming out onto Sickoscott. The explosive cast goes out, the Ignite is ticking away, flash forward from CheesdBeluga that he saved from that fight before, is going to be the one to pick up the kill right there. So it's 1-for-1 across the map, and now we have PorpoisePops just hooking PoBelter back in, applying a bit of damage. There's a dissonance speed up actually. Command Shockwave is available, but the body slam away from PoBelter is going to keep him alive in that situation, and it stays at 1-for-1 as Super Mega Death Rocket goes out, but wide and to the left, no good. CheesdBeluga stays alive.
Meanwhile, Tails and Godshu down in the bottom lane, going to shove this one back out. And they do claim themselves a tower. That's the first tower of the game, so that's going to be a little bit of an advantage for vVv's. Godshu's coming back forward. They've got PorpoisePops.
Oh man, PorpoisePops comes in, little bunny FuFuu has to flash through the forest, puts the ultimate onto himself, but is it going to be enough? Don't think it is. His HP bar is very, very low. The health pick shield comes out. Otter's just in the back wailing away with fish bones on the enemy team. Tails does finally pick up the kill on Bunny FuFuu, and Otter's in a 1v3 situation, but he's got the cavalry coming in, and vVv decide that after picking up little Bunny FuFuu, it's enough to just back away.
Dude barely get that one down. Tails able to land that one with Blade and get himself that one. And, I mean, nice part Bunny FuFuu was almost able to stall out enough time. PorpoisePops and Sickoscott to get into the PorpoisePops wouldn't have had these cast, but Sickoscott did have the Knuckles available. And, you know, this is pretty much the only person was involved with that chase and splash ups. So that could have gone very sideways there. As speaking of going sideways, iKennyU is kind of dominating against now. Dominus gets popped, and iKenny just jumps away.
Yeah, and actually a flash forward and the stun underneath tower gets Snuggle, gets a kill right there. Picks one up for himself, and after Kha'Zix seemed to be dominating that matchup here, now it's Renekton that turns around and picks up a kill under the enemy tower. With the top laner dead, and with a potential 4v4 situation on their hands, vVv feel like with the Dragon Timer on their side, they're going to be set to contest this one. Sickoscott was actually making his way towards the top lane, so he's not even going to be here for this fight. The Dragon burns down quick enough, they have to be afraid of Gragas! PorpoisePops steals it away with a double barrel combination, and that's going to be vVv shaking their heads as the smite was not there, and they weren't able to secure the one for themselves.
Sometimes you just get too desperate for a dragon. Sometimes you just say, okay, we need to take this one down right now. We have a window of opportunity. We can do this. I know we don't have smite, but it's fine. I'm confident we can take this one down. And they were too optimistic. That they did not account for the fact that PorpoisePops is going to be able to outdamage their team if they don't have a smite available. And there's going to come a moment where he can outdamage their team even if they have a smite. Get Snuggled is now he's potentially the one getting too greedy.
Yeah, he's actually stayed a very long time. Dominus is not available. iKennyU coming in here. Sickoscott just puts down a opposite flag and drag combo just to gain an assist off of that one. And iKennyU picks up his third kill of the game on his enemy top laner.
And that's you always have to be careful for something like that. We've seen trades, kills just traded back and forth in that top lane as people are, I mean, I'm not sure at that time it seemed that he didn't respect the respawn timer, but we saw, you know, iKennyU didn't necessarily respect the damage that Snuggle was capable of as he just flashed forward there, was able to get the stun down and burst him down. Now, you know, he sticks around too long. Bunny FuFuu getting died!
Oh, Bunny FuFuu has to pop his own wild growth on himself again. A flash in with a body slam from PorpoisePops, knocks CheesdBeluga against the wall. Sickoscott comes in, picks up a kill for himself. It's a 1-for-1 trade right now, and it's a 2v2 situation, but no ultimate available for Gragas in this situation. No ultimate available for Tails or Godshu, though. They are going to wind up backing away from the tower for the time being, but now PorpoisePops has joined the fray in the mid lane. The same exact time, Otters have been doing his own little ottery thing in the bottom side of the map, takes down the Otter tower there from the side of vVv, and it's 1-for-1 in towers. The gold count's only 100 apart in favor of vVv. That's going to be evened up and even accelerated in ggLA's favor as they lose Sickoscott in the mid lane, but they gain a tower in the top lane as iKennyU pushes that one down. Now PorpoisePops getting dove under the tower here. PorpoisePops taking it up as much as he can. Double kill for Tails. Is it going to be, oh, the flash and the barrier barely saves Tails in that situation, but PorpoisePops stays alive long enough to get a kill for himself.
They did so much tower aggro management, right? Godshu just stood there and just tanked the tower for a while as long as he could. Then finally he had to clear the aggro or he was going to die. PorpoisePops is one they went on to, and then ended up picking Tails. So because the tower aggro onto Tails, he ended up losing both of his summoners. But they do manage to get themselves away from that one, but they don't take down the tower. Like, this is the really important thing, is that teams at this phase of the game, they need to be focused on taking down objectives. And right now, apparently the objective is Renekton. He's going to be able to get himself over that wall with no difficulty. But, I mean, just like that, we saw 2 towers fall down in favor of ggLA just within the last minute. vVv are going to have to start answering for this. They've already lost the gold lead. It's over in favor of ggLA right now as they lead by about 700 gold.
Yeah, and you kind of can't count out the fact that that dragon had been stolen away by the side of ggLA as well. So the dragons are even up at 1 apiece, and the towers are in favor of ggLA despite the kills and some of the farm counts not necessarily being on their side. We do have 149 compared to 130 CS in the AD carry department, but the mid lane matchup pretty much even, and the top lane matchup slightly in favor of ggLA. This, of course, is going to be in part to the fact that we had Kha'Zix going for a Tiamat build, but not a lot of armor penetration picked up until he just completed that Brutalizer now. That could be a testament as to why Snugglez is living a little bit longer, as he has pieces for his own Sunfire cape acquired in his inventory.
This is a pretty terrifying moment to be Renekton, to be perfectly honest. Kenyu is, I mean, he just hit his 2nd evolution, so now not only does he have like the murder bug claws, but he's also got the wings, so he's got extra movement on the jump, and if he picks up a kill, he gets a reset. He's able to reposition himself. Get Snuggled has not been having a good time in this one, and here's the on the hunt. Cake one more time on Kenyu.
The ward spots out Kenny coming into that brush, and they set it up perfectly. That is a bug trap right there. Kha'Zix goes down. The Oracle's Elixir from Godshu, not letting him get away with that invisibility either. Flame Trumpers go down from Otter. This is a 5v4 siege of a mid tower that's already taken a little bit of damage from the last time that the side of vVv showed their head in mid lane. Now they don't have the on the hunt available, so they're not going to be able to chase down through after the tower goes down. So this is going to be a siege that wants to take that building down and only get a fight if the side of ggLA are the ones to force it, or if there's really a good command shockwave coming out from the side of CheesdBeluga. But this is the stalemate that ggLA can put down upon the side of vVv. They have the Gragas barrels. They have Jinx for some decent wave clear with their switcheroo. Once Fishbones comes out, there's a lot of AoE damage pocketing from that rocket launcher, and it's going to be a hard push for the side of vVv. The death timer is already gone. Kenny's coming back in, and Sickoscott decides to engage under the tower. Cataclysm blocks him, only gets Snuggled. Command Shockwave pulls back in ggLA. Hellbelter goes down, but Kenyu leaps into the backline. He gets chunked for his trouble, but Otter gets the passive pop as he shuts down Sivir, chasing down into the enemy team. Kenyu barely survives this one. CheesdBeluga gets hit once, twice, not going to be free. Otter has to back away from that one. Get Snuggled, going to get Fishbone right here. Zap goes off. He gets the vision now. On to get Snuggled. Flash forward. The Glitterlands goes down. They're slowed. They're revealed. Is it going to pick up another kill? Switcheroo hands true. The dissonance slowing down Otter's passive, but he's still chasing through with that move speed. Now everybody from vVv is low. Barrier gets popped. Who does he want to go for? Can he get anybody? No, he cannot. The Super Mega Death Rocket not available to execute any other low members of the side of vVv, and ggLA turned that one around and set their sights on the tower.
It was so well played there by ggLA. It's so dangerous. vVv, they had to take so much time to get away from that one, because if Otter got any closer, if he got one more auto attack down, he would have been able to proc the passive. He wouldn't have been able to continue chasing down. He only got one passive proc, and then he got slowed up by the dissonance, and then we saw the strong disengage coming out there from Godshu. He was able to use that stun to just lock him up. But man, oh man, Otter, you ever have those moments where you're just looking at it going, man, I really wish I had access to my ultimate. I really wish this was not on cooldown right now, because that one Super Mega Death Rocket would have spelled so much death.
Oh man, well that's pretty much what it does spell there, and you gotta give a little bit of credit to CheesdBeluga though. Those clutch dissonances, even though Otter's passive gives him a ridiculous amount of move speed, I mean, let's not forget about it. It's 175% for 4 seconds. He slowed him down enough to make sure he didn't get those kills, and over this fight for Dragon, now it's the side of vVv that steal one for themselves. Cataclysm locks them up, and they're just kind of like, okay, we're just gonna wait here for a second. Flame Chompers go out, and oh, boom! In comes Pulmelter! Godshu gets knocked back into the enemy team. It's a 1-for-1 right now. Super Mega Death Rocket, it's available this time. He picks up the kill on that Sivir right there. No spell shield available, but now the Kitey from CheesdBeluga gets down ggLA very low, but he's gonna fall himself. Kenyu picks up a kill for himself. Depth charge goes out from Nautilus, but it's not going to be enough to dissuade ggLA. They lose the dragon and their jungler, but they pick up 3 kills.
Alright, so we saw in that situation they tried to do the same kind of steal with Pulbelter coming in over the wall and then using his combination, but the dragon got pulled away from the barrel, so Pulbelter didn't use the ultimate. But then after that vVv, after the disengage, they all walked together in a big clump. And there's nothing Gragas likes to see more than just a big clump of the enemy team. He used a body slam to get himself right in the middle of the team. There was no cast animation whatsoever for that explosive cast. It just knocked everyone back. Godshu just got immediately erased. Otter was able to land the Super Mega Death Rocket, and then they were just able to chase through and pick things up with their superior mobility. PorpoisePops, we should also point out, went with the Body Slam Flash, after that, which was a big part of what allowed them to continue that engagement. So PorpoisePops wasn't able to steal away his second dragon of the game, but he was able to punish vVv for picking that one up. As we see that they're in a situation now where it's a 2,500 gold advantage, still in favor of ggLA.
Yeah, ggLA has gotten the gold advantage, and more importantly, they've had the objective control. More towers on their side than vVv, but now they've evened things up in the kill department as well. 13-13 looks dead uneven, but like you touched upon, Malfus, the gold lead has swung a little bit in favor of ggLA after it had kind of been on the side of vVv for a decent portion of the game. Now with this forward pressure in the mid lane too, that second tier tower in mid lane is crucial because it gives up so much map advantage. vVv, they just want to keep going though. On the hunt they go. Depth charge goes off the PorpoisePops, but he body slams back to the safety of his own tower. CheesdBeluga not going to heed that safety though. Winds up picking up a kill, and PorpoisePops pays for his life as Sickoscott causes the Cataclysm all over Orianna. Godshu gets caught out as well, and Otter pops the passive, has a red buff now. That's dangerous. Zap winds up missing on the get Snugglez, so they're not going to be able to continue this chase for now, but it's a 2-for-1 trade in favor of ggLA.
So I'm looking at this fight, and I'm watching Godshu. And in my mind, like, okay, the support heart of hearts that I have is saying, oh, that was so brave. But then the rest of me is going, why would you flash into a Cataclysm? It doesn't make any sense. ggLA turning off the Baron, going to try to get initiation down. Godshu, you know, he'll go down in brave Taric that tried to take the Jarvan 1v1 inside the Rage Cage.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not a bruiser top lane Taric, which is something that probably shouldn't even be mentioned, but he's unfortunately just a support tag. Actually, a flash forward for PorpoisePops guns, a dredge line down onto Sickoscott. The wild growth goes out from the side of Bunny FuFuu though, and it looks like vVv might want to try to chase down on this one. Sickoscott's health bar isn't the highest in the world, but he is going to flag and drag himself to safety thanks to that blue buff right there. Jump away from Iconia's Kha'Zix as well means that ggLA are going to be able to escape from this one, but by forcing them back now, vVv get a moment in time to push down this outer top tower and try to even things up a little bit more, taking a second tower of the game for themselves.
So right now, vVv need to play to their strengths. Their strengths right now are basically tails. That's the strongest thing that they have available to them right now. Is you see PorpoisePops is going on to get snuggled.
The Dominus winds up being popped out, gets snuggled, dropping down extremely low. PorpoisePops just kind of trading blows back and forth, but he realizes the cavalry's coming in, and PorpoisePops has to hightail it the heck out of there. vVv coming to the aid of their top laner and gets snuggled. Super Mega Death Rocket comes in, not gonna pick up a kill. Barely survives with a little bit of HP there, thanks to that Dominus ultimate. And Otter is going to be shaking his head about that one.
Yeah, Otter was very hopeful on that one, and it was really close. 170 health is all that was left on Renekton. But that's a skill that has an execution scaling. The lower you are, the more damage it does. So that 170 health can get chewed up really quick if it's like another 30 health on the other side of this one. PorpoisePops trying to keep the tower alive, using as much CC as he can. Here comes the cavalry. I can use jumps cancel.
Oh man, the command shockwave goes off, but who's actually in favor here? The tower goes down, Otter kills that one, and they wind up chasing down onto PorpoisePops here. Drops down extremely low. CheesdBeluga had to get the heck out of there as well, and ggLA are now turning the fight onto vVv. That is the 5th tower down on the map. PorpoisePops decides that he split push Gragas in the meantime, and now the composition from ggLA is spreading apart vVv. They're not letting them group up, and they're not letting them get into that giant clump of let's charge that they want to do.
This is a very difficult situation for the sides right now. For the side of vVv right now, ImPobelter is in a pretty terrifying spot as he's got the Ravenous Hydra and the Brutalizer. He's moving in towards the Last Whisper. If he's able to complete that, I mean, even Renekton's armor count will be nowhere near enough. Like even with the Sunfire Cape and the Ninja Tabby, that's not going to be anywhere near enough to stand up to to the Kha'Zix. And then there's just so much sustain coming up from this build. We've seen so many top laners have become so incredibly popular with builds like this one, or any. I mean, just basically any form of sustain. Ravenous Hydra is one of the more popular ones, like champions like Riven or Elise. Now Kha'Zix is getting added into that list of melee top laners who just love building Ravenous Hydra and then just kind of running through people and sustaining through all their damage. ImPobelter is an obscene split push threat right now, and he's got a lot of getaway juice too. If you do try to gank him, he's got the ult, he can go stealth, he can jump away from things over walls. He's pretty terrifying right now. You got to keep an eye on this Kha'Zix.
You hit the nail on the head right there, Malphus. Not only is there a lot of split push power on that Kha'Zix with the Ravenous Hydra, but the amount of DPS he can put down and the supplemental amount of damage he can get to cause those resets in teamfights is monumental. So he's not only the same Kha'Zix threat in teamfights he normally is, but if you leave him alone on the map, he will take a tower, he will build up a massive creep wave, and he will threaten an inhibitor as only one outer tower remains on the map for the side of vVv. They need to be able to react to that, but in doing so, they split apart their own composition. Their own split pusher in Renekton is 1-5-3. He hasn't been able to get off the ground in this game as quickly or as big of an impact as they had wanted him to. They lose out on a dragon right here. This is actually the first dragon I think that hasn't been really hard contested since the first one, and there hasn't been like a smite or steal war over, as now ggLA, by taking that one and seeing how nonchalantly they were able to do it, have established the fact that this 3,000 gold lead, this 3 tower and 1 kill advantage are enough to say that they are decisively in control of this game for now.
I mean, this is interesting. We mentioned before that Tails is a really scary person, and oh, this isn't a play from ggLA.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to wind up going in for this Baron attempt right here. The pink ward winds up going down a little bit late, but Bunny FuFuu's Oracle's Elixir says that there's no wards available. vVv kind of knows something are up, but ImPobelter is zoning them on the mid lane side of the minimap. Baron Masher winds up going down in favor of ggLA with not a single contesting remark from vVv in this case. And after so many dragons were fought over, it's very awkward to see that Baron just go down for free to ggLA. That's how much map presence they've established. That's how important these Oracle's Elixirs and pink wards are coming out from the side of Bunny FuFuu. And now vVv, they really can't charge headfirst into this one. They need to get a pick. They need to have a numbers game in this fight. Otherwise, it's going to be all ggLA with that Baron buff.
And Tails, you gotta be careful. You don't really want to stand that close to a Gragas. I mean, I guess he's got the spell shield, but still, that's kind of terrifying. As the side of ggLA, they're just gonna move down towards the bottom lane here. And this is a very difficult tower to hold, especially against a team composition like this one that has as much poke as they do, that has as much initiation potential as they do. This is more than a little terrifying. They need to be very, very careful about how they play this one if they think they can actually defend this.
Well, I mean, ggLA, we've already seen them be able to defend towers with this composition very effectively in the mid lane. Hint, it's still up after all this time. So now it's going to be turning that defense into offense and aggressing down on the last remaining outer tower from the side of vVv. Now, they couldn't take down outer towers as quickly as possible. Let's see if they're able to put up a staunch defense at this tower, whereas it's pretty much one of the things that you have to keep in mind. It's if this tower falls, then they are confined to the inside of their base. But if they lose a fight here, they could lose an inhibitor and maybe even the game. Sickoscott decides it's time to go in. He and Kenny just leap into the back line. ImPobelter picks up the first kill on the PorpoisePops. Kenny U's gonna go down the tails at the same time. Otter picks up a kill onto Get Snuggled. The tank is gone. The switcheroo is out. CheesdBeluga takes a rocket to the face right there. Zap goes down onto Godshu, as does the command protect shield. They've traded 2 for 1 in favor of ggLA, and the siege of this tower is not yet complete, Malphus. Oh, ImPobelter goes in, finds Tails, finds Godshu, 2 kills for Otter, double kill picked up for Jinx. Outer tower not going to be alive any longer as they charge down onto that inhibitor tower in the bottom lane. CheesdBeluga is at full HP, but I don't know how he's going to be able to defend in the 4v1 situation. I guess he's going to have to flash away from Sickoscott. That's how it's going to happen. Tower damage comes in, Sickoscott drops low, but his teammates are going to help take down that tower, expose that inhibitor, and now with PorpoisePops up, it's still a 4v2 situation. Home guard boots in from Nautilus make him scary looking enough to try to chase away ggLA, as now he's just getting kited away. He does wind up grabbing on the ImPobelter though with a dredge line. Lots of damage coming in with that command dissonance here. ImPobelter trying to body slam his way out of this one. A slow from the Golden Lance over the wall. Bunny FuFuu. Dredge line does not connect, and it looks like it's just 2 towers and a lot of kills here for ggLA.
Yeah, Sickoscott just using, I mean, at that point, when they were going for the inhibitor tower, just trying to go in onto CheesdBeluga, whether he could get the pop-up and force him back out, it didn't really matter. He just needed to buy space. Because when Otter goes into the minigun form, he is a tower-killing machine at this point. He's got the Bloodthirster, he has the Last Whisper, he's going in for a Phantom Dancer as well. Ooh. And that's like our 18th pause of the game. This one coming out from the side of vVv.
Oh, it looks like they're saying that the Nautilus ultimate did not go off, but it's on cooldown, which I'm pretty sure a lot of League of Legends players are familiar with the fact that sometimes those portraits don't necessarily show when they're on cooldown or not.
Exactly, yeah. If you use an ultimate right as you're dying, or sometimes even if it just gets absolutely immediately canceled, the portrait won't show that it is on cooldown, but the skill cooldown will be activated. It's something that's been around for, I mean, I remember it happened to me once when I played Malzahar, and everyone knows that Malzahar has literally not been picked on any server by any player for the last 2.5 years. Those are the actual statistics on that. You can take that to the bank. But a little unfortunate, but it will be available again once the cooldown goes back down. He just won't necessarily know that because he won't have a portrait to tell him when it's up.
I mean, looking on our screen as well, it says it's available, but he isn't able to cast it. So a little bit of an unfortunate visual bug here for PorpoisePops. He's going to disconnect and reconnect and try to see if it winds up going down. But still, even with that ultimate, if he had it in that chase available, it was still a 4v2 headlong chase into 4 Baron up members from the side of ggLA. So I'm kind of doubting how much that depth charge actually would have turned things around. But speaking of turning things around, Malfus, vVv came out of the gate and it looked like that they were the ones being aggressive. They took the dragon. They wound up going into a lot of fights against the side of ggLA, and even though the Renekton pickup wasn't necessarily the best head-to-head matchup against this Kha'Zix in top lane, they had the kills advantage and they had the gold lead. But ggLA, they held a staunch defense in mid lane, they stolen dragons away from vVv, and just stolen the complete course of control of this game away from them.
Man, you know, we mentioned before that this is going to be an exciting game. It has not disappointed. This has been really, really back and forth. A lot of action going on here. ggLA, they do seem to have a handle on things right now. But I mean, ooh, yeah, this is... That's an Infinity Edge done. He decided not to complete the Fantastic, just went in for an Infinity Edge. I just saw that. Otter is kind of terrifying right now. With as much attack speed as he's going to get out of the minigun, if he's able to go into minigun stance and just right-click people down, they're going to die really, really fast. But even if he isn't able to do that and just goes into into the rocket launcher mode, he's still able to keep himself super safe. 700 range. He's raining in massive auto attacks and potential for even bigger crits. This is a really, really good spot for ggLA to be in. As once again they group up and they head down to the bottom lane. They're going to continue this split push pressure.
Well, Otter picks up that Infinity Edge, like you said, 9-1 and 4 on Jinx right now, just absolutely causing mayhem on Summoner's Rift, which is pretty much what Jinx wants to do, I guess. But not a lot of armor had been picked up from this side of vVv. Renekton had a Sunfire Cape and Ninja Tabi, but he was the only one in doing so. Whereas on the flip side, Nautilius had yet to complete that Warden's Veil, which he does have now, or he had the Locket available, but that's only armor on himself. The targets that Otter has been picking up these kills and resets on his passive for, Taric, who has an armor aura, which isn't the most in the world, and Sivir and Orianna, he's not all too worried about having to shred through any defenses of them, so why not just go for straight damage in that circumstance? Now the turn from vVv comes in, the Baron buff is gone, the Nautilus ultimate actually wound up getting disjointed, it looked like there by ImPobelter. PorpoisePops turns this around, Godshu goes down, good command shockwave comes out as Get Snugglez in the backline, but so is ImPobelter. SMD goes wide to the left and doesn't wind up finding a true target, but Get Snugglez goes forward and gets killed right there. It's a 2-for-0 trade in favor of the side of ggLA. That inhibitor in the bottom lane is open and that is going down. The health bars aren't so healthy from the side of ggLA, so they get that one and they back away from vVv's base.
I really don't know what to make of just happened to that Nautilus ultimate. I was under the impression that it could not be disjointed. I did not think that was capable of happening. But ImPobelter, like when I saw ImPobelter jump, I got really concerned. Now I'm getting very concerned for PorpoisePops. Oh!
Ooh, ImPobelter drops down super low. CheesdBeluga with a surprise amount of burst damage right there. Secures a kill between himself and PorpoisePops onto that very powerful Kha'Zix. Now PorpoisePops goes in, pushes tails forward, and secures them the kill. Says, you know, we feel bad about that, but why don't you take that from us here? They are going to secure the dragon for themselves, but maybe a little overconfidence from new ggLA as they give up 2 kills in doing so.
This is, yeah, you know, do we say back and forth yet to describe this game? I mean, it's just every time people are kind of giving up advantages and taking advantages, but overall it's coming out generally ahead for ggLA. And a lot of that is because of where these team fights are actually happening physically on the map. Like, generally speaking, when you fight on the opposing side of the map, you tend to come out a little bit further ahead because even if you fall behind in the fight, as long as it's not completely one-sided of a route or past like the 70-minute mark, it's very difficult for the opposing team to push through all the minions to actually push all the way down the lane and start picking up some of these objectives. So even if they do give up these kills, as long as ggLA are able to secure the objective first, then they're going to have a very good time. But as you see vVv, they're trying to get their 3rd tower of the game down. They will be able to claim this one up, but they're super cool. vVv are on a clock right now. ggLA can play this very patiently. They don't have to rush anything. And if they see Tails head down to the bottom lane, they might just rush in for the Baron, which is about to respawn in
Now. But they finally take down that last outer mid tower for the side on the side of ggLA, but that's a tower they've been poking at for 20 minutes. PorpoisePops! Oh, he body slams into a brush! That is not what you want to have happen to your burst damage. Flash away from Tails as IkennyU tries to jump on him. The On the Hunt has been popped, but now it's a 4v5 situation. And even though ggLA are so far ahead without PorpoisePops available, can they wind up taking this fight? What are they doing instead? They're running for vVv's base. They're trying to push them out of position, trying to take the Baron out of the possibilities here. Sickoscott gets hooked up by a dredge line, flag and drag into a wall right there. It looks like they're just trying to stall right now. They're trying to group themselves back up together, and they're wasting time from the side of vVv, so they can't capitalize on that kill. Bunny FuFuu and IkennyU might be the sacrificial lambs right here. Command Shockwave goes off. Looks like Bunny FuFuu gives up his life. IkennyU got the ultimate. He jumped away. Can he get away, though, is the big question. Those spikes go down from him, trying to slow the chase efforts from the enemy team. The ball goes out. The command dissonance is up. And can IkennyU get away with those leaves coming out from Kha'Zix? It looks like he can get away. And even though PorpoisePops face checks a bush, they just lose one more, and they don't give up any pressure on the map.
That was really nicely played by ggLA. I mean, that was really nicely played. I mean, they took away one of the most important members of the side there by taking out that Gragas. I mean, they lost that big dispersal in the middle of the fight. They lost all the burst damage that Gragas offers. I mean, they were in a really bad spot as soon as they lost him. But because they just ran down the map, they applied pressure into a sensitive area of the map, because there are super creeps pushing down to that bottom lane. Like, you can't take any threat there lightly, or else you risk losing a Nexus tower. They had to chase that down and actually do something about it. And because they split up very nicely, Bunny FuFuu and IkennyU microed that situation very, very carefully, and they were able to get IkennyU out of it. So Bunny FuFuu is, he's kind of a hero, in the Yordle community.
Yeah, he definitely is. The Yordle that sacrificed himself for the greater good in that circumstance here. It's only 4 kills on him, as he actually doesn't have the most on his team. Unfortunately, well, that honor or dishonor might fall to PorpoisePops, as now he's wound up getting himself killed in 2 very unfortunate situations. But with a lot of itemization and gold in the side of ggLA's pockets, as well as an elixir fortitude picked up here for Otter, they are the ones that look to be a bit aggressive. There's a ward in that brush, a pink ward from the side of vVv, but they can't see that ward in the side from ggLA. Sickoscott locks up the backline. Super Mega Death Rocket gets brushed off by the side against Snugglez. Sickoscott has to flash away with the Lulu ultimate on him. Now PorpoisePops in a bad spot. Tails picks up a kill on PorpoisePops, and ggLA are falling apart to vVv at this point in time. IkennyU is not even in that fight. He's trying to get around the outside here, trying to get some damage down onto somebody, but there's no isolated targets. His damage output has been mitigated by a ton. Sickoscott wants to try to help IkennyU in a big duel situation. The sustain coming up from Kha'Zix, trying to keep himself alive. The command shotgun gets Otter in a situation where he picks up a kill on Tails. It's a double kill as Otter picks up a kill on Orianna. Now IkennyU still in a 1v3 situation. Finally goes down to the members of vVv, but the super creeps are pushing down. Nexus tower goes down. The remaining members of ggLA are stalling the recall or running into the base. Inhibitor has respawned for the time being, but this mid inhibitor is under threat by Otter and Bunny FuFuu. Godshu comes in with the home guards from there. He's gonna save the inhibitor for now. Can they save the one being assaulted by super minions is another question, Malfus. But these fights, I think you could say it's a seesaw game after all.
This is just incredible. Sickoscott was a little bit early on that initiation. ImPobelter wasn't able to get in range and capitalize on the small clump that was formed by that Jarvan ultimate. So they weren't really able to take advantage of that one. PorpoisePops tried. I mean, he did what he could to try to get into range, but he was just too far out. IkennyU, as you mentioned, wasn't there at the outset of that fight. But for a moment, it looked as though the extended nature of the fight was going to go in favor of vVv because of the move speed that they were able to get out of On the Hunt. They're able to consistently reposition themselves for the entire duration of that ultimate and take control of team fights in that manner. But eventually it got to a point where people got too low and Otter started killing folks and started getting excited. And when Jinx starts getting excited, she runs around the map and she kills other folks. And at the end of it, if she's able to pick up that kill in the inhibitor tower, they were fortunate that they had people coming back up in time to get the home guard out and be able to stop this one out. But they're not fortunate that Tails is about to go down.
Oh, Tails just gets caught out and pulls a PorpoisePops in that circumstance. Their phase checks into a brush and gets obliterated by ggLA. Down goes the smite from PorpoisePops as well. So there is no smite steal available for the side of ggLA. IkennyU smells blood though, or at least oil, as he jumps down to Orianna. He dodges the command shockwave. Baron goes down in the background, but that's not nearly as impressive. Double kill kill picked up by iKennyU as he chases down 2 of vVv. The GG comes out from Tails, the no surrender vote quite yet, as iKennyU says, you know what, we were in a 1v1 before, get snuggled, let's try to finish the game with a 1v1. Leads down onto Renekton, he's chasing out, gets the slow from his spikes. Kenny wanted turning this one around, stun under that remaining Nexus Tower, super mega death rocket with a smiley face to seal the deal. It's an ace, it's a 5-0, and ggLA, new roster and all, take the win over vVv.
Terrific play there. iKennyU so aggressive on the Kha'Zix. At this phase of the game, he knew that there was no one alive that could still kill him. Once they take Tails down and they don't have that persistent DPS, as long as he doesn't get like stunned by Taric and everyone else jump on him, he's done. Like, that's it. He can just run through the whole team and kill whoever he wants. He went in with the 1v2 against CheesdBeluga. He's too mobile for CheesdBeluga to be able to hit him with the command shockwave between the jump and the flash. He knows that he can outplay that Orianna every time. And CheesdBeluga just doesn't have that available in the kit. Also, no flash up on that Orianna. And Taric, like, Kha'Zix not afraid of Taric at the 40-minute mark. Come on. The Taric might as well not even be there. It's like, oh, you give them a little bit of armor? That's great. I have Last Whisper and Black Cleaver. Like, I don't really care about your armor, my friend. And just, that was the story of that one. iKennyU just kind of killing lots of folk as the Baron went down. And ggLA, really impressive win.
Yeah, definitely. Good win.